What is up, guys? James Carter TV here for yet another one of my 2016 NFL Draft profiles and scouting reports. And today we're looking at former Florida Gators cornerback Vernon Hargreaves III. Now, this is a guy that when I'm talking a lot today, it's going to sound like I don't like this guy. So let me preface my comments by saying I like him. I think he's a good player. I think a lot of people are overrating this guy, thinking that he's going to be a shutdown corner at the next level, thinking that, oh, just draft this guy and then your needs and problems on the secondary will go away. I think he'll be a good player, but he's going to have his issues. And if you can coach him up well, and if you can fix those issues, then these issues can go away. But we can say that about every single prospect. There's a reason we do this, because even though great coaching can fix a lot of things, at the end of the day, you kind of are what you are. And then it's going to be up to you whether or not you decide to change that. So we'll get into all of that. I'll give you my strengths, my weaknesses for this player, as well as my pro comparison and my best fits. And by the way, all of this information can be found in the description box below. So let's start with his strengths. Number one, his instinctiveness, specifically in the pass game. And this mainly comes from the fact that he always, pretty much for the most part, has his eyes on the quarterback. And this is especially true when you see him in zone coverage. He's 10 yards, 12 yards off of the wide receiver. He's looking at the quarterback while the play is developing to seeing where is this guy going to throw the football. And a lot of times he comes up with interceptions because that's what he's been doing. He's so good at this. Now, this can sometimes get you burnt in the NFL because you have to have your eye on the NFL wide receivers. I mean, you can't be matched up against Julio Jones and keep your eyes off of Julio Jones for long, because before you know it, he's behind you. And this happened to Vernon Hargreaves. He had people end up behind him because he was looking too much at the quarterback. Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver for Alabama, had an opportunity like this and took advantage of it in 2015, no less. So this is something that I see from Vernon Hargreaves that can be a little bit of a strength, more of a strength than a weakness, but it also has some weakness traits to it. It has a con in that this can trip you up sometimes. He's a risk taker. And this is something that I see consistently throughout many parts of his game, and I'll get into all of that today. He's a risk taker, and there's a lot of boom or bust that comes with that. And because of that, I think he's pretty much a boom or bust player. And again, I think he'll be good, but there are some issues there. But number one, his strength is that he keeps his eyes on the quarterback, and he's able to use his instinctiveness to jump on a route, to come down when he sees a play developing, and attack when necessary. Next, we have his physicality. We're talking about a guy that's only 5'11", 192 pounds, but he makes up for that size with physicality, especially in the run game, especially when tackling. Now, again, this is kind of a double-edged sword because his physicality can go a little too far sometimes. His tackling can be a little undisciplined. That can be an issue there, but he's very physical, and you're going to need to be, again, when you're matched up against Julio freaking Jones, you're going to need to be physical, because if not, this guy's going to throw you around like a rag doll, and you're going to be absolutely screwed. Now, more and more NFL wide receivers are getting smaller and smaller with, Antonio Brown, Julian Edelman, so it's not as big of a deal as it would have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. But you still need to be physical with wide receivers in the NFL, especially when you're in press coverage. This is not something that you have to worry about when you have Vernon Hargreaves as your cornerback. Next, we have his fluid hips. I mean, this is huge. When you're an NFL cornerback, even a college cornerback, even a high school cornerback, you need to have fluid hips. You need to be able to backpedal and swift and change according to where the wide receiver is about to go, where he's about to break, what he's about to do. And this is something that you see consistently from Vernon Hargreaves III. Next, we have his good speed and quickness. Obviously, you're going to need to be good. You're going to need to be fast. You're going to need to be quick. You're going to need to be agile to cover Antonio Brown, to cover Julian Edelman, because that's what we're talking about. Okay, yeah, it was cute. You could cover Rashard Higgins. You could cover, Kenny Waller. I mean, you have to cover NFL big boys now. You have to cover these shifty guys, and he's able to do that. He has good speed. He has good quickness, especially on in routes. On outside routes, you see this as well. He definitely has good speed, definitely enough speed to compete at the NFL level and to compete with the faster wide receivers in the NFL. He's active in the run game. Now, this is one of the better prospects I've seen in the run game, because usually cornerbacks are on the outside, they're getting blocked by the wide receiver, and then a lot of times they just give up on the play. And if the running back happens to go on their side, they may try to make a play, they may reach an arm out there saying, hey coach, I tried, I stuck an arm out there. No, he's very physical and active in the run game. This is going to be one of the cornerbacks in the league, assuming he starts all 16 games, assuming he's on the field for a majority of snaps. He might lead the league for cornerbacks and tackles. I wouldn't be surprised, because he's very active in the run game. But also, that could be because sometimes he may allow a catch every now and then, and he'll have to catch up and tackle in order to make up for letting someone catch the football. But anyway, this is a quarterback that I believe can lead the league in tackles for cornerbacks. And that's a nice trait to have. It's nice knowing that my cornerback is active whenever the other team is running the football, and running on the outside will not be as easy as they wish it would be. Next, he has a tendency to be in the right place at the right time. I remember Patrick Tolles, the quarterback for Kentucky, was throwing a little pass to a little dig route or a little out route to one of his wide receivers, a little 3-yard out route, goes a little high, and then Vernon Hargreaves was right there for the taking. Boom, picks it up, runs 30 yards, 40 yards back the other way until he's finally caught by Patrick Tolles. I was surprised. I thought Vernon Hargreaves would be gone at that point, but Patrick Tolles caught up with him. Good for him. But anyway, it tends to be in the right place at the right time. He ended up with, I believe, 9 interceptions throughout his college career, and most of them were due to stuff like this. It really wasn't him, let's say, a 50-50 ball with a wide receiver and he got the interception. More often than not, he had his eyes on the quarterback. He could see things developing. Boom, right place, right time. Instinctiveness, seeing what's going on, being prepared, being ready, being reactive, seeing, okay, the ball's coming my way, let's go, let's get it. Being in the right place at the right time, definitely something that I see a lot from Vernon Hargreaves, especially when he's in zone coverage. When he's in man coverage, he doesn't get many interceptions at all. All right, and he has good ball skills. Again, this is mainly when he's in zone coverage, mainly when he sees what's going on in the field in front of him. I think he might be a damn good free safety, now that I keep talking about all of this, but he's a cornerback. I think they're going to leave him at quarterback, and then that's fine. But you definitely see an ability to be able to rack down some of these harder throws that come his way, and he'll be absolutely just fine doing that. Next, his weaknesses. And there are some weaknesses here. Number one, his size. He's 5'11", 192 pounds. That is not impressive. That is not impressive size that we are talking about at all at the NFL level. I mean, this is the bare minimum. I mean, maybe you can get away with being 5'9", 5'10", but really, when we're talking about a first-round talent, you got to be at least 5'11", so he barely reaches that. 192 pounds. Wow, barely reaches that mark. Lucky for him, Malcolm Butler, who's been finding success lately, he's 190, so at least you can use that as a point of reference to say, hey, I'm not that small, but hey, you're pretty small. That's bad. It really, when we're talking about corners in nowadays in the NFL being taller guys, 5'11", that's I mean, it's maybe not bad, but it's a little discouraging. 6 foot is really the standard set now. I mean, you have a Jalen Ramsey in this class that's 6'1", and Mackenzie Alexander, who I'm not sure exactly what he is, but I believe he's about 6'1". There's a little bit of an issue only being 5'11" here. And he may only be 5'10". I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to the combine and they say 5'10 and a half, 5'10 and 3/4. So the size is an issue for Vernon Hargreaves. Next, he's an inconsistent tackler. I talked about how active he is in the run game, and he's a better tackler in the run game. But man, wow, sometimes this guy whiffs bad. And it's because he loves, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe because this is what they teach him at Florida, but for some reason he loves diving at the knees of wide receivers and running backs. It's like if you've ever played Madden and you press the X button and you just dive, that's exactly what he does all the time, at least 70% of the time. Now, sometimes you'll get lucky with that, and sometimes you'll get him down and he won't get any yardage, and good for you. Sometimes you'll miss, and then boom, he's going 20 yards because you decided, I'm going to go for this guy's knees instead of going for a sound tackle. This is an issue. I'm sure plenty of teams will try to stop him from doing this, but he's been doing this all 3 of his years in Florida. It's a bad habit. It's going to be hard to break this habit. He needs to stop this habit. You cannot dive at Adrian Peterson. Not only would you miss him, let's say you even hit him, you're going to bounce off. You're not going to be able to touch this guy. You're just going to bounce off like a little fly hitting the windshield of a car. You're just going to go right through you. He's not going to care about, oh, your little attempt to get to his knees. It's not going to work. He's going to have to improve his tackling techniques. He's okay in coverage. I guess he's good. I don't think he's very good in coverage. We're talking about a guy, and people talk about being a shutdown corner. I don't know what you're saying. I saw him got absolutely burned by Amari Cooper, who is an NFL wide receiver who we can use as a great point of reference to say, okay, how does he do against NFL wide receivers? We got absolutely burned by Amari Cooper in 2014. When it comes to the complex routes, the corner routes, the deep post routes, he has his struggles. When it comes to just deep out and fades, he does a good job there. But I think in terms of coverage, slant routes he struggles with. I think for college he's good. Okay, he's good in college, but in the NFL, I think he's just going to be okay in coverage. I don't think he's going to be anything special in coverage. Just a guy that can make nice plays, but is not going to be a shutdown cornerback. And finally, I believe he struggles on inside routes, specifically slant routes. This is something I saw consistently he struggled with because he's so short, because he's so small. Whenever a slant route is coming his way, and because he's so aggressive, he tries to dive, reach for it, make a play, and then when you miss, you're done because you're on the ground and the guy's going this way. And this is something that, because he's so short, and when he loses just a little bit of separation on slant routes, that's it. You won't be able to get him. He has the speed to maybe catch up, but because he's so aggressive to jump and leap and launch, he has troubles getting these wide receivers on these slant routes. And I saw 3 plays where he absolutely whiffed on slant routes. This is an issue he needs to clean up. Overall, I compare him to a little bit of blend between Joe Haden, Casey Heyward, and Malcolm Butler. So that's a 3-player blend I believe you mix together and you get here. I think he'll be good. I give him an overall grade of 82. I think he'll be a good player. I don't think he'll be a shutdown player. If he's your number 1, I don't know. You may need another number 1 cornerback. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be a starter. But I think he's going to have his troubles. And if he can fix up some things, then he can end up being really good. He can end up being a Pro Bowl talent. But I'm a little bit conservative when it comes to Vernon Hargreaves. I see too many red flags coming up on film. His best fits, this is just in terms of where I think he could flourish the most. Not in terms of these teams should take him, but this is where I think he would flourish the most. And teams that also happen to have somewhat of a need at that position. The Baltimore Ravens, I believe they would be able to take this guy and mold him into a Baltimore Ravens, be able to coach him up as they've done so well and fix up some of his tackling concerns. But I believe that would be a little rich since he's since the Ravens are picking at number 6. I believe that'd be a little rich for them, but he'd be a great fit in Baltimore. Miami, considering cutting Brent Grimes, I believe he could come in. Again, I'm not sure he's the number 1, especially his rookie year. But I think he'd be a nice cornerback to have there in Miami. New Orleans, again, this is a team that has a number 1. Delvin Breaux really stepped up this season, really played well. Keenan Lewis is still there, but he's starting to decline. I would love to see Vernon Hargreaves go there and not have to become the number 1 because Delvin Breaux has been so well. Even though there was the one play where he was looking up, he didn't know what was going on. He's been playing well. Add Vernon Hargreaves. That way you don't have to worry about him being your number 1. And he's going to be way better than Brandon Browner, I know that. And then the LA Rams. They have Tremaine Johnson coming up as a free agent. Janoris Jenkins coming up as a free agent. This is a guy that they can add in there. Make sure that if one of those guys leaves, we have another guy here. Doesn't have to be the number 1, but he can be a good cornerback. So again, I think he'll be good. I don't think he's going to be great. Until next time, James Carter TV, I'm out. Peace.